Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. All right, let's get going. All right. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Um, we're going to get right into the works for today. Let's see. I need to first do this though, I guess. Hang on. Sorry, I should have looked into this ahead of time, but screen recording. Apparently, even though I've done this recently, well, not that recently, I guess whenever the last episode was, but apparently since then, um, somehow my settings got changed. That anyway, it's not letting me share the screen, even though I'm sure I've done it before. But all right, anyway, hopefully that's working now. I can share this with you guys. So yeah, we're gonna get into looking at some works today. We have about an hour and we've got a lot of stuff to look through. So hopefully we should be able to get through everyone's. So first of all, if you guys have never seen one of these episodes before, basically this is a way for me to give some feedback on some builds to my wonderful Patreon supporters. And let's see, it's still not working. So give me just a second, guys. Apologize. It was a very hectic day and afternoon and week for that matter. And well, the past few months, to be honest. But let's see, where do we want here? Yes, so this is a way for some of my Patreon supporters to share their works, and we'll take a look at them so you guys can see it too. And I'll give my feedback, advice, things I like, things where I think they could improve, but I need to go here. Let's see, into my settings here. And screen recording. For some reason, that's still not gonna work, is it? So actually, let me, I might have to restart the stream here for a second, which is rather annoying. You can choose, or you can do it later on your own. We'll be able to record contents onto. Okay, so hang on just a second. I might need to restart the stream. Just a second, guys. Woohoo! There we are, and I'm back, and the stream's still going. So it just went black. I don't know what happens when I do that. So I think the stream just went black maybe for a minute. Is that right? Hopefully it should be working now. So yeah, it's been a crazy couple of months. Sorry, guys. I appreciate y'all's patience, especially to my supporters on Patreon. Especially appreciate you guys' patience. But we're gonna start off by taking a look here at Andy's HD Origin Gundam. So yeah, like I was saying, if you guys want to submit works, I do these episodes, try to do them once a month. And like I said, it's just a way for Patreon supporters to submit their works, and we can all check them out together. So I do have some background information for some of these. And so let's see. Andy said that this was a build that he was working on. He built the kit in 2020 and then did some modification work and some painting in 2021. And now finally this year, he finally got around to totally finishing the kit, which I understand. Sometimes you just work on stuff for a while and then you just need to take a break for a while. It happens. I'm still waiting on Andy to finish up his mega size unicorn build, which I am planning on doing one as well. I haven't even started mine, so he's still ahead of me. But after seeing his, that was something that I wanted to try as well. But that may be something. Hopefully, maybe I'll get a chance to work on that sometime this year. We'll see. But anyway, so he said he swapped the beam rifle for the ground type beam rifle as well, as you guys can see there in the photo. Very nice. And let's see, I don't show it anywhere, but I tried to use the brass rod to hold the beam saber in the backpack. Probably just glue it next time. My first kit painted with Tamiya and Mr. Hobby after exclusively using Vallejo paints in the past. Decals were from Simp. Finished off with Tamiya panel liner and Mr. Super Clear Flacco. So first time painting with Tamiya and Mr. Hobby, eh? You can't really go wrong with those, though. It fell off my shelf and exploded. Uh-oh. Well, then Andy, basically your unicorn's in the same state as mine then. So we can, by the time I get started on mine, we should be there kind of right by each other. But anyway, all right, so here is the Gundam. This looks like we're looking at this once it's just painted, even though obviously the color is not going to be too different from just the raw kit, but I can tell that it's painted because the cross is gone on the shield. So I know that's one of the modifications he did, was to get rid of the cross on the shield. And was there a work in progress photo of that? Maybe not. I was thinking there was, but maybe I'm wrong. So anyway, here's the shield minus the cross and the beam rifle from the 8th MS team, Ground Gundam Easy 8 from that series. Very cool. I love that beam rifle design, so I think it's a cool swap, definitely. I do really love the Origins beam rifle, the Origin Gundam beam rifle, that version of the beam rifle. I really like that with this particular Gundam, but either that or this are a better swap than the traditional RX-782. If you're going to change it, you're going to go for something a little bit different. That's a good option, so I like that. And I do like the cross removed from the shield. I actually didn't notice it when I was looking at the photos at first. Before I read the email, I was looking at this thinking that I really liked that big decal on the side of there. It really reminds me of like a Ka signature figure. I forget, what am I thinking of? Robot Damashi, like Ka signature figure. I'm guessing that's maybe kind of the style that you were going for with this. It definitely looks like that. Looks very Katoki. But there's the back of the shield. It's obviously before panel lining and decals and all that. And maybe some more detail painting. We'll see in the finished photos if you went in and did any more detail painting. There's a lot of detail there, though. But masking looks pretty good. There's a little bit of this didn't get filled in with gray paint there at the top. But if that was me, you can probably just, once you get that panel lining fluid in there, that will probably fill that in enough that you probably don't need to go back and paint that. But you could just paint that in with a brush pretty easily to touch that up. But again, this is a work in progress photos, I'm just saying. For those of you guys, if this happens to you, because this is all just masked, the back of the shield is not gray. It's not a separate piece, unfortunately. But if that happens to you, you can fix that just with a brush or just fix it with panel line fluid if you can, or a combination of the two. So here's decals. Like he said, he was using the Simp decals, which are nice. Is that decal broken, though? Oh, no, those big decals. It's dangerous. It looks like it maybe is a little bit broken there. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Again, we'll take a look on the finished photos. There you are. I've never really liked the RX-782 hands being all gray. I always have to have the back of the hand being like the same color as the armor. It's just always looked so weird to me that the entire hand's gray. I know that's how it goes, but what do you guys think about that? Do you like that about the RX-782 design or no? But yeah, I think the finished product looks really nice, and just maybe it's just the photos as well, but it definitely looks like a Ka signature figure. Let's see. The big decal was left over from my Verka decals. So there you go. I really like that. That massive decal on the shield does look really cool. It's a shame that it broke, but it's not that noticeable. I didn't notice that at first until I saw the work in progress photo of the shield. So maybe on this closer up photo. And it's out of focus. So there you go. You can just strategically hide it by not having like a close up photo of it. I don't know if it's the paint or the top coat. Looks a little bit grainy on there, but I would guess that's just the top coat. Did you use it straight out of the can, or did you like use it out of the airbrush, Andy? Because I know like out of the can, it's much easier to get that top coat to look kind of grainy like that. Whereas with the airbrush, you can spray it on pretty wet. Ideally, is what you want to do. Where out of a spray can, if you spray it like that wet, it's real dangerous. It's when you start to get dripping and all that stuff. It's just not good. So yeah, and it's cool to see it in different poses as well. Oh, here's the work in progress photo. I knew I saw it with the shaved down cross on the shield. So here it is, like the work in progress of the shield. So you just shaved that down and then just filled it in with some putty just to make it really smooth. And great job on that. You can't see, I mean, as far as I can see, can't see any like residual lines or anything of that. So that's good. But no, I think it looks great. Let's see, from a can, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not the kind of thing you're going to notice from a distance looking at any of these photos, just depending on how the light hits it. It's not noticeable, and especially on the white, it really won't be all that noticeable. But on the dark colors, when you look at it close, you see like that grainy bit. That's just from the spray can. So if you're using Mr. Hobby, I would recommend getting some of the GX. What is it? It's like the GX flat clear. I think it's like number one, either 113 or 114. Either one are good. One is like I think like 114 I think is like the UV cut, and then 113 is just like the regular one. But either of those are great, or just flat clear, which I think is like 182 or something like that, Mr. Color number. I could be wrong. It's been a little while since I've been paint shopping. But yeah, any of those just out of the airbrush will be easier just to avoid that. But no, I think it looks good. Very cool. There's no other further images or that we can really see of like the back of the shield as far as like the detail painting goes, because it is a really detailed kit. So there's plenty of details there, like in the joints and everything on the back of the shield. That beam rifle is a really good match for that. The different colors look nice on there. So that's cool. Yeah, I like it. Nothing. Well, here's one of the back. I don't think we really looked at this photo. Another area that has a lot of details there on the backpack. That would be, well, and we can see the back of the shield there. There we go. Another area that you can take advantage of doing some more like detail painting, either by hand or by masking, whatever. I don't really get what you're talking about with the brass rod for the beam sabers in the backpack, though, Andy. What did you mean by that? In the email, he said, I don't show it anywhere, but I tried to use brass rod to hold the beam sabers in the backpack. Oh, okay. Just to make the beam sabers so that they wouldn't fall out, I guess. If that's what you mean. I mean, yeah, it's a good way to do that. Or you could just glue them in, yeah. As imagining the beam rifle as a spare from a different squad. Yeah, totally. I mean, either that or, I mean, if you're trying to like think about it in like a realistic sense, like as like something in canon, that makes sense. Or either way, I mean, it's just sort of a variant. It doesn't have to be like a canon explanation for it. I think it works. It looks good, actually. Very nice. And if you ever have any 8th MS team kits, like any of them, the master grades, the high grades, they all come with plenty of weapons, so you're bound to have leftovers. So it's a nice way to use leftover from a different kit. Very cool. All right. Thank you, Andy. I'm looking forward to working on our unicorn kits in the future. All right, so let's see. We've got Philip's work, which will come back. I'll come back to you, Philip. I had asked him to resend his because I couldn't see the photos. We'll take a look at Julian's here. Let me just pull these up for you guys, which we only have a few photos, and I'll have to read his email. So let me just get this on screen for you guys, and then we'll check out what he sent information wise. All right. There's times when it's like freezing in here from the aircon, but right now it just happens to be one of those times where it's very warm. Plus I'm in front of the lights and everything, but as I'm getting a spam call. All right. So let's see. You can say Torah. Okay. Anyway. All right. Thanks, Andy. At first I was looking at the the 07 and wondering what's that, and I keep forgetting that that's the salute. All right, so let's see. He said, I'm not working on any Gunpla at the moment, but I do have some girl kit bashes I'm working on. Still need to be primed and painted, but I'm waiting for an airbrush to paint them. Pics might not be the greatest due to my phone being older. All right, so there's some custom, these are Megami device kits that he's working on, it looks like. So let's see. We'll see what we can see here. As far as like, I wonder what's that on the hair. I like the asymmetry of it. I think that'll look cool. Like once it's kind of painted and stuff, and like the hair is matching with it not being like 3 different colors. The hair is the same color, and then you have this different thing on the side. I think that'll be cool. But man, the Megami device kits, one thing, I love them, but when they're in their like base form, just like without any armor or anything on them, just the bodies are so tiny, and the heads always look huge on them. But you got that going on a little bit, and then just using kind of like some spare parts there. Those look like spare parts from the Ninetales kit, and this body might be from that as well. I can't be sure, but to make this kind of like little thing she's riding on, which is cool. It's just interesting, simple. If you're going for something simple, rather than like a lot of the Megami device kits, having like a ton of stuff going on. I would maybe just adjust the pose a little bit because she's still standing pretty tall. If you imagine, let's look at like photos of like people riding a snowboard or something like that. It would basically be kind of something similar, or a surfboard, like surfing. They'd be kind of like down lower and the legs a little bit more kind of apart to like have a more grounded stance. Because if you're standing up like as tall as she's standing on that thing, as soon as it starts to move, she's gonna like fall off. A little top heavy there, if you know what I mean. Especially with that big head, and other things. So I think it's a cool idea if you're gonna go for this kind of setup. But yeah, just adjust the pose, and I think that'll be pretty cool actually. You could even rather than using this base, I know like it might be kind of what you want to do to use this magical base, and you could still use that. What I would recommend using is some brass rod. This plastic rod I think will just not be, the things that you're working with aren't very heavy, but you don't want stuff like shaking too much or whatever. So I think brass rod might be the way to go if you can get some. Just get some 3mm brass rod. That way it fits directly into the holes of everything. And what you could do is have a base or something, and just like a simple wood base or whatever, and have that clear circle part on there. And then instead of the thing that she's riding on being like directly on top of that, having it like up on an angle, and then having her like on like an opposite angle. I wish I could have like something prepared as like a demonstration of what I mean, but you know what I mean? So let's say, well, I'll just use some visual aids here. If I can, let's see. Well, I'm just going to go back full screen. So like you have your just simple wood base, and then above the base, rather than how it is like this, like here's the board and here's the girl on it like that, but have the board like more on an angle, like 45 degrees, and then have her kind of like more bent over, kind of like on the side like that. Kind of like she's like riding up the side of the wave or something. Again, like imagine like kind of surfing, right? So I just think that would look very cool and dynamic. Hope that makes sense. That's not what I want. Let's see this one. There we go. Just as an idea for the pose of that. Yeah, search skateboard, surfing, snowboarding, whatever. Like imagine she's like kind of riding up the side of a half pipe or a wave, whatever it might be. So no, I think that would be a cool way to display this, once you make some more progress on it. The collar and the chain thing, it's not for me, but again, I think it could be worked into the design, definitely kind of depending on which way you go. As it is, with like her being very just bare, like just the body itself and like nothing else except for that. I mean, it just kind of depends on how you end up painting it and everything, and like kind of what kind of decals you use. I think it looks out of place at the moment, but depending on how you progress with the build, you can work it in to place maybe, but just depends on how much you love it. Sometimes, I think I mentioned this before, but there was a phrase that my professor used in my filmmaking class when I was in college all the time, that sometimes you have to kill your babies. And you probably hear other people talking about that. I think it's something they use a lot in the film industry because they use it for like when you have to make cuts for stuff. Maybe you, I know it happens like with every movie. They end up with cut scenes from the movie, right? That, the director really wanted, or, somebody wanted that in. And then at the end of the day, it just kind of doesn't really fit. So even though it's something that you like, it just doesn't really fit with the project as a whole. And that might be one of those things you'll find, but we'll see. If you end up really liking it and you're finding a good way to make it fit, stick with it. This one as well, again, I like the asymmetry. The horn out of the head is pretty cool. It's very large, which I think could look very cool, like stylistically, or you might like try trimming that down a little bit to maybe not be like quite that large. This is the clothing from one of like the ATK girl like clothing sets, I believe, right? Definitely is a little bit better fit, because the ones that I've seen usually just don't really fit well on those kits, but it actually fits kind of well on this body. So that's not too bad. The mask, I'm not really a fan, but again, it just kind of depends on how you end up working it into the final design. The chain is part of our backstory as a character in the story I made up for her. Okay, so there you go. So yeah, once we know kind of more. So when you have a backstory like that, and this is another thing that I learned from art school. So, I guess, I did end up learning a thing or two over my time there. But another thing that I learned was that, you have to be able to tell the story with your work. Not everybody so like if you're making a painting, whatever, and if there's something that you're trying to say in the painting, but it requires somebody to read the little card next to the painting in order to get that, that adds to it. But if it's not apparent in the work itself in some way, then somebody's going to look at it and just totally miss that. So like if there's not kind of more tying that into the character, I mean, obviously you can't like have a super long detailed backstory explained in just a model kit. But if there's some other kind of evidence as to like why or how it's a part of a character or why it's there in some way. So that's why I'm saying like through some sort of decals or something, or depending on how you paint it, you could kind of connect the things together a little bit better in the model kit. So again, as it's progressing, as it's coming along, we'll see if you can do that. I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not very good at explaining that stuff sometimes. And then this one, that's using some Moscato parts there, I believe. And yeah. Again, at the moment, there's not really much going on with this. So I don't know what your plans are for this build. But again, just keeping it pretty simple there, I see. So, I mean, just kind of depending on where you go with it. I'm looking forward to seeing some more of, because you guys know I like the Mecha Musume stuff. So, in the next month's episode or next month or whenever you get a chance to get some more progress on these, I'm looking forward to seeing how these are going along. Because I think right now it looks like they're all kind of very in like the very early stages where you're just kind of like setting the stage of kind of like the idea for each of these characters, and then you'll develop the models with some more customization and painting, things like that, and they'll kind of start to come into their own characters as you're working on them more. So we'll see. in the future. But I mean, as far as this one goes, other than the alternate parts for the body, it looks like she's got some different shoes. I don't know what those are. Those are from a different kit though, too, right? I can't quite tell. But again, yeah, it could be part of the character or something. I think you can make it work, surely. And especially once they're painted. Again, with them doing a completely different color from the legs, it's going to look a bit off. But once it's all painted the same color, it'll look cool. Once the weather gets better, I can start priming them. Yeah, one thing, if you weren't aware, just a warning before you start painting those, is that all the skin tone parts in those kits are usually in ABS plastic, and they don't really like to take lacquer-based or like solvent-based paints very well. So just be very careful with them. Would hate to see start spraying paint on them and then the parts just break and crumble. I've broken parts doing that, and you just have to be really careful painting those. So just a heads up on that. Let's see. All right. Ooh, who's next for today? Dilly, who's got a very cool custom build here. Let's see. Go ahead and get this up and up here. And I'll share. Feet are taken from the Brave Girl. Ah, right. All right. Here we go. So, this is based on the Raphael HG kit, a kit that I've always really liked the design, but I've never gone ahead and like pulled the trigger on actually buying the kit because the kit itself doesn't look that great, but the design I really like. So I don't know, maybe I will have to see if I can get one eventually. It's one of the kits on my list of that, like, there's not a very extensive list, but because I have so many dang kits, but it's one of those on there that I have always kind of thought about, but never quite got around to ever buying and building one. So anyway, no other background really on this other than I know it's just based off of the Raphael. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Gunpla Junkie said he saw this in Discord yesterday. It's so good. Yeah, it is very cool. Hopefully we can see some. Let's see if there's any other closer photos. I wanted to just see the photo, see the kit as clearly as possible. But just first of all, just on the color scheme in general, I do really like it. I think it's a really good fit for this design. It looks really nice, and the bright orange accents look really cool. And the red as well, actually. A lot of times I think just like red for like weapons or ammunition or something like that. It doesn't, I don't always like it because it seems like, I don't know, a bit too obvious or something, or kind of lazy. I don't know. Like you have missiles, so paint them red, when like you could just easily paint them white or yellow or whatever color really. But I actually think they look really nice. That those red accents up there, they look really cool. It's just kind of another bright accent amidst these weapons, which are mostly just pretty dark, right? You have the white decals on there, which look nice. And these lining bits, I'm not sure. It looks like some, well, I'm trying to tell. Looks like maybe some of the panel lining in the dark areas was done in like either white or silver or something maybe. So let me know. Which, again, I've talked about before. I'm not always really a fan of that too because it's not realistic for panel lining to be in a lighter color like that. But I know it looks all right in this one. It seems like a kind of stylistic choice. No, I do really like the colors. The painting, I can't tell if it's pre-shaded or not. What did you say the original base kit was? The original base kit is, I'm pretty certain, it's the Raphael, I believe, which is the 00 like movie version of like the Virtue, right? The Virtue, that like the next version of that, whatever you would call it, from the movie. It's the HG kit. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I'm pretty sure that's what the base kit is for this. It's just like the weapon. It normally has like those massive big shoulder things above the top here, but he just swapped that out. So I think he used those parts or like part of those parts here for the handheld weapons. The weapons on the back, I believe, are from that Build Divers weapon set, I believe. But I think all the weapons are a pretty good fit for it. But I was going to say, I don't know if it's pre-shaded or not. It looks sort of like it, but I think that's just kind of the shadow. So I don't think there's really too much pre-shading. There might be like a little bit of highlighting or something in there on this kind of medium gray color. So whether there's any shading on there or not, it does look really nice. That color looks really nicely painted, very smooth. It's a good color on there. I like it. And then compared to, sorry, compared to the very dark color there. Anyway, the colors match really well because, I don't know, they go together really nicely. And then having the warm accents on there are nice. The decals look good. Again, with the photos not being like super crisp, as I'm like trying to zoom in, you can see the photos breaking down pretty hard. But as far as I can see, the decals look pretty nice. I wonder what those are from. If those are from just like a generic 00 like decal sheet, or from a different Gundam or something, or they might be from a, oh no, it does say Raphael on there, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Yeah. So maybe it's also from like Simp or some other third-party decal set. Yeah, Rorgal in the chat there said it's basically technically based off of the Gadessa design. Yeah. So if you look at it, actually, like the arms and legs, and I don't know, maybe some parts of the waist or something like that. But yeah, it's got some parts shared from the Gadessa in there, which is a fantastic kit. Very nice kit. In the HG line, I built and painted one years ago, and I would love to get another one, or just get this one. But anyway, no, I really like it. Other than that, not really too much else I can say about it. I mean, I think this would look really cool in like just kind of a simple pose like that. It looks cool, but in like a dynamic like firing pose, doing one of those, firing his guns. If you got the guns, got these big guns, you might as well use them, right? So I think in some kind of cool pose like that could look really awesome. When you got a kit looking as nice as it does, putting this on a just a different base and like a cool dynamic pose, I think could look really nice. But either way, it's good. I like it. There you go. All right. So thank you, Dilly. I do really like that one. Next, we'll look at J Swan's RX-72. Another RX-72 today. I think it's only the two of them, though, so not too many. We got to get some love for the RX-72 in. Here we are, and just a few photos of this. I like the photos. I think they went out of order, unfortunately. Okay, I can move these. When I was looking at the photos at first, I liked going through this from the first photo, the second one, to the third one. I was just kind of like upgrading the weaponry from one photo to the next. It was kind of funny. Nothing, armed, heavy armed. That was cool. And then one of the back. I will say, going back to this one, I wish the photos were a little bit brighter, just so that the background would be white and then the subject would be kind of more clear. So I would go in, just photo-wise, I would just go in and adjust the levels of the photo a little bit. I think that'll be nice, just to be able to see the work more clearly. Let me check in his email. He said sending some pictures of a more recent build. If you need to pad out the episode, Jason said. Yeah, Jason, I'm not sure. Actually, I would have to go back and double check again as well, but it's okay. Wanted to go off the condo look. Okay, sure. Yeah, so that definitely explains like the dirtiness level and kind of just like the darker kind of image. It does kind of is very condo. How you have this kind of like layer of dirt kind of over the whole thing. So I definitely get that for sure. I was gonna say it's pretty heavy, dirty, I think normally, but I get what you're going for. I do really like the choice to just go very simple on the decals. That also is very kind of like old school. Definitely reminds me of like the 1980s kits. So like the 144, the 100, like the MSV kits that come with those type of decals. The decals are very MSV, right? It's just a few of them, and they're kind of like very weird compared to like what kind of decals, like for example, that we saw on Andy's RX-782 at the start of the episode. His was like kind of more Verka, in that the decals were all over the place and they're all kind of uniform. But like this style of decals, they're just kind of like all over like random shapes, and you got like this square one right here on the side, and then this circle one right here. You got the triangle there, got the arrow with the lines on the bazooka, and then just the 78 here on its own on the shield. I really like that. The color in the shield looks great on the red part. Was this painted by hand, Jason? I used the original RX-78 decals. It had some goofy ones. Yeah, but like the goofy ones, like I said, I like the goofy ones because they're, if you're going for that like old style, MSV style, then they definitely fit. I wasn't really thinking about it too much at first, but now looking at it, especially at the shield, it does look like maybe you hand painted this. But you got some really nice like value variation, like the darker and lighter bits of red there on the shield, because it's a larger area. There's more space to see that. Or on like the blue, and especially just in the photos, it's kind of harder to see that. And on the white, just because of all the kind of dirt and weathering and stuff on it. It was completely by hand with Hobby Aqueous. Not used those paints before, but yeah. I was gonna say, like, my first thought was that the weathering's too heavy, and I still think, probably, like, by normal standards, the weathering is pretty heavy, but I get the style you're going for, and I think it works totally. I think it would look really nice if you did like the same style painting and weathering and decals and everything on actually like one of the old kits, on like one of the 80s kits. If you got like a 100 scale, like 1980 RX-782 kit and did like the same style on that, it would be cool to see. So maybe something to work on in the future. I did a Max Watanabe undercoat, but the oil's covered up a lot. Yeah, it is. It's not easy to pull off. I can tell you just from my attempt at it. Planning to, try some more in the future, but I think it came out all right. It's cool. Definitely on like a larger kit and on an older one. I think it would be a good fit for trying out that style again in the future. But very cool. Thank you, Jason. All right. Let's see here. Who do we have next? Jonathan. Right, with his Mark V. Every time I see a Mark V, I'm thinking, man, why didn't I buy 2 of those? I definitely, if they ever rerun the Mark V, I definitely need to get another one. Because I would really like to paint up another one of these. I really enjoyed the kit. It's a really, really nice kit. Definitely one of like the best master grades I think I've ever built. But let me get it on the screen so you guys can see it as well. Somebody else who seemed to be doing a little Kondo inspiration, perhaps. It's very brown. This was my Mark V prototype test type version that he made. Still a work in progress and needs a matte coat to blend things together a little more. My personal preference is always to have a heavy dark pre-shading and build up the lighter layers. Maybe some additional edge highlighting and shadowing some parts with clear acrylics. I could stop now and be pretty happy though. Do you think this work would benefit from some actual chipping? I find it extremely difficult to do convincing chipping painting effects. And then let me see, he sent another email as well, just make sure I didn't miss anything. No, that's basically it. Okay. All right. Why do you look green screened into your background? Do I? I think it's probably just because of the holes and like I don't know. Yeah, just because of the way the camera is like trying to focus on me and the background at the same time. I don't know. I get what you mean, Chris. It does look kind of weird. I noticed that before too. But yeah, here's the Mark V. Let's zoom in a little bit. I like the colors. I mean, basically they're like pretty ugly colors, but they work well somehow on this design. If somebody told me they were going to paint, like if you showed me the colors like in like the paint jars and said you're going to paint the Mark V in those colors, I would just be like, all right. But no, I think he actually pulled it off pretty well. Those colors look nice on there. The Mark V is just a kit that I think, you know, it's just such a good looking kit that you could paint it in pretty much any color scheme and it's going to look good. But I don't know, I guess that's something we would have to put to the test. Unfortunately, it's a pretty expensive kit to test on. But no, the layout of all the colors looks really nice because there's a bunch of different colors there, but it doesn't look like it. It looks pretty uniform. So it's not easy to do that when you have like a lot of different colors going on, to get it to look like it's not just a splatter of different colors. But there is a lot, and like even amongst like looking at these shoulder armor parts, like for example in this photo, this front shoulder armor piece and this front shoulder armor piece almost look like they're flipped colors. And just because of like there's so much scaling and like the value of the colors, like this one, the top half of this looks darker and the bottom half looks lighter and kind of looks the opposite on the opposite side. But I know it's actually probably just the same color, and it was just the angle or just the how the shading worked out, just kind of made it look like that. But I think it looks cool. Just all the variants and the colors that you have going on there. What is that, like a like drop of gray paint right there on the front? Is that a decal or what? What is that? It looks like a decal, isn't it? On the front skirt. Trying to zoom in, see what that is on the front of there. So that looks weird. And then is there a seam line on the top of the head right there? I don't remember there being that being there. It's either, maybe it's just a panel line, but from personally building the kit, I don't remember there being a seam line there. Interesting, but it looks like something like that on the top of the head. But no, as far as, you know, whether to work on this more or just kind of stop where you're at, I mean, I don't know, because I think it does look really good where it's at. It could look better with, you know, doing some more effect work on it. Chipping, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I would say I think it would look good from like a little bit of chipping, but a very little bit. I would do it like really, really light and just like some areas a little bit, just like because you have a lot of different colors and a lot of different angles and stuff going on. So maybe in like some areas like here on this back skirt section where there's a lot of open space, there's not much breaking it up. You can kind of break it up a little bit more by having just a little bit of chipping, like maybe along the edge, along the back here a little bit. But on areas like where it's a lot more busy, like around the shoulder, you got kind of a lot of stuff going on here. You maybe don't need it quite as much, maybe just a little bit along some of these angles here and there. But I don't know, you could try it. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't go too much with it because I think it'll end up then kind of maybe almost distracting away from the paint colors themselves a little bit possibly. But it could look nice to just get a little bit more definition on some of the sharp edges on some of the parts. I think it could look good. Also, the use of decals is nice. I really like that decal set. It's either the same set or just one of the similar sets that I used like on the Mazinger kit when I painted that gigantic mega size Mazinger kit. Somebody said Mark V rebake. Yes. Is this a MG? Geek Eric said, yeah, it's a MG. And the metallic bits are painted nice as well. They're not like overly silver, like super shiny, but you can like see the kind of dark gunmetal appearance of the metallics on some of these parts. And they're not overly apparent. Doesn't have like a ton of them, but where you can see that, where there's exposed frame, it looks nice and kind of matches with the colors nicely. So no, I think it's looking really good. I think if you want, go in and do a little bit more work on it. I would say, yeah, why not? Or just some top coat on it a little bit more. Call it a day. I don't know. But I think it's looking good. You definitely took a risk with those colors, but I think it came out looking good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just all the shading and highlighting and everything looks really good on that kit. It's a big kit. If you guys have never seen it, if you've never seen one in person or something, or I mean, I've done my review of the kit and everything, but yeah, it's a very big kit. So there's definitely a lot of room for, trying some painting out like this, where you work doing more shading and highlighting, things like that. You've got plenty of space for it. So it's a good idea to do that kind of painting style on this. It looks good. So thank you for that, Jonathan. Very nice. All right, who do we have next then? Who haven't we done yet? Let's see. We did that. Jay, Jonathan, Julian, Justin. Let's see. All right, let me pull up Justin's photos. We got a few builds. We got Justin, and then we got Mike left. And out of time here pretty soon, so I'll have to go through these somewhat quickly, but try to give ample time to everyone. And sorry that the episode's going to be a little bit shorter today, just about an hour compared to normally. I would try to make it between an hour and a half. Let's see. All right, so Justin said, called A Night in Tunisia, named after a 1940s jazz song intended to be a look into an alternate history of World War II, sort of for this build with the RX-78-2. So let's take a look at this. I think the photos should be in order, as in they're separated between the different builds. So it's the first 5 or so pictures here. We're taking a look at this. So we have the RX-78-2 with like a Gatling gun kind of arm, and it's kind of cannon up on the back there. And what's in the hand? We got some guys down here. A nice little diorama down there at the bottom with the tank and everything. And I would like to see like even more photos of this than what we have. But it's very interesting. Definitely the modifications and just the theme overall. It's quite an interesting theme. Just to see the weathering on that. When I looked at the build at first, when I first was looking at the photos, I thought the weathering looked kind of too heavy-handed, and maybe a little bit in some areas. Like the chipping, I think, is maybe a little bit heavy-handed in some areas, and I think like there's other certain areas where like inside this cap here on the knee could have used some more attention. Seems like it kind of missed that spot, and like these like bits which are meant to look like kind of rust stains or something, I guess, are also like could be feathered out a little bit more. So I think the weathering could use some work, but like the idea in general, and I just think the like kind of what am I trying to say? The composition of it is really cool. There's not any more photos of this. Let me just check, because I didn't think there were. Oh, there's one more photo. Okay. Just I wanted to see what was in the hand. I could see that it was the beam rifle handle, but I didn't know if there was like the actual beams they were affecting there, or if it was like a more physical, like just a sword kind of thing. But it's definitely a cool definitely a cool concept. Yeah, I would say the weathering could just use some practice. But other than that, I think the concept is really interesting, and the colors, the selection of the colors are cool. Because it's still got like the RX-72's color scheme, like roughly. You got the blue, the red. It looks like the vents might even still be like somewhat yellow, maybe not totally, or something. But the addition of the green in there, just the kind of army green with the army star and stuff on there, I think is a kind of cool way to just kind of keep it still somewhat RX-78 but then that kind of tying it into your World War II theme. It's kind of a cool mix of the ideas there. Pretty good setting of the Gundam into the actual diorama, how it kind of looks like the foot is like actually sunk into the dirt there in the back, and you got the tank kind of going down there. This foot up here, I think, could maybe be doing the same thing a little bit more sunken in. It's kind of hard to tell from the photos. We don't have a ton of photos to look at this in too great detail, but like the mud and everything on the foot is nice. I think that also might be a little bit too much, just because it just kind of seems like the mud has like a very even layer of mud all the way up to the top of the ankle armor, and then just kind of stops there. So either like he stepped completely in mud that entire foot, or like if it was splashed on there, I think it would naturally be a little bit more uneven than it is. Just from what I can see in the photos, it does look a little bit evenly spread out, like kind of over the entire foot. Like he did actually step the entire foot into the mud. You know, like when you got boots on or something, and the entire boot goes in. But yeah, so I mean, and it looks like you added like a piece onto the front of there, maybe, or I don't know, maybe not. I don't know if I'm seeing a pattern in that or not, but no, I think it's a very cool build. I mean, the weathering is the only thing that I think could use a little bit of work, but yeah, other than that, very cool concept. So I mean, if you I'm not sure at this point, probably you were probably done and don't want to, you know, go back and like retouch up the weathering, but it's just something to work on in future builds. I think as this one goes, though, it is really cool. The addition of these parts here up on the back, up on the shoulder. We don't have a picture of the back of the build, which I think would also be pretty interesting to see, because I'd imagine, I think what he did with this is like build like a platform here, like for personnel to be up there, or I'm not sure, but anyway, it looks kind of like that. And sometimes you see people doing like that. I've seen a lot of custom builds where like they'll have like a little platform built on like the front of a Zaku or something like that. But something like this up here on the back for somebody to be like up there operating the cannon or something, for example, basically. It's a cool concept. So yeah, definitely. It's interesting. And the cannon arm, yeah, that's cool as well too. I mean, because you're thinking, you know, if it's going into battle, it needs the hand, you know, for holding the beam saber, I guess, or for holding some other handheld weapon, but it really only needs the one hand. The other one over here might as well just be just a gun on there. A hand is just a lot of moving parts that can just get broken. So, you know, realistically speaking, it makes sense. All right, here is a new Gundam. I was about to say Alex for a minute there. I was about to lose a lot of street cred. A new Gundam, but it is a little bit more blue than usual, isn't it? It's definitely got the color scheme is more akin to the Alex with how blue that is. But obviously with this one, it's the old kit, and he went for like the kind of illustration style painting on this, and I would imagine this is not painting but drawn on with either like pencil or pen or something. Looks like pencil, but just to give it the model kit the look of being an illustration. It's pretty cool, and look, having it set so like it's like coming out of the box art kind of thing. Another thing that I think is like it's a cool concept. Definitely, it's not like the cleanest attempt that I've seen at this. I mean, obviously there's some crazy ones out there. Like you can't even tell you're looking at like an actual 3D model. It just like looking at the photo, it just like looks like an image. There's no way to tell it's like an actual model kit. But no, I think this is cool, especially like with one of these old models like that. It's a cool way to display it, just to kind of lean into it being kind of old looking by just kind of making it look like the old illustration. So that's pretty cool. And the effect part there, I don't know what that's made out of, like hot glue or something, I don't know. And then just painted like that with the orange and black just to give it like the lighting effect, like blasting effect there in the fin funnel is pretty cool. Yeah, interesting. And we have something kind of similar. Oh, there's some more photos of this one here. So here's that one. Oh, okay, so it's some fluorescent paints used for that, for the eyes and cameras and for that. So that's cool. So if you have like a fluorescent light or a black light in your room somewhere like near your display to light this up, that's nice. And then, did we see this photo before? I don't know. I guess so, but there you go. There's another one of that. And last one, the Pale Rider here. This one's really nice. Also a little bit heavy on the weathering, especially for this scale, for it being 1/44 scale. The chipping is a little bit heavy, I think. But again, like the concept and the composition of this is really nice with this explosion effect down here. It looks nice with the light of that. Where's the next photo? Here we go. So that looks pretty cool with how you've got it arranged out of this explosion there. Very nice. Yeah, just the weathering on that just could use some work. That's the main thing. Otherwise, the painting, like in general, the application of the paint, like the base paint, looks nice. Doesn't look like there's like too much like bad paint texture or anything like that. So the paint looks smooth. It's just the weathering that I would say just could use some practice. Decals look good. The color choices are nice, and even on this one too. Using them kind of more bluish color rather than the like dark blue black, kind of what it is more normally, I guess. That looks nice. So very cool. I wonder what the effect parts are made out of. You can see like it's kind of cotton here, but this part going up here on the side looks like it's made out of something different. So again, I kind of wish we had some more photos of these so I could see in some more detail different aspects of the build. And same with like the RX-72 little diorama or vignette as well, but they look good. I can see you got rid of the seam lines on the fuel tanks there on the back. Also a good job on that. Glad to see that. And with that, all right, guys, we have actually two more. So let's see. Let me go ahead and we'll pull up Mike's first. And what did Mike say about his? Sorry, Mike. I think I saw he was in the chat from the beginning. I should have looked at Mike's earlier, because if I knew he's here in the chat, I shouldn't have kept him waiting. Sorry about that, Mike, if you're still waiting there, or if you're coming back to watch later. But yeah, I'll try to remember that for next time. If I see the names in the chat, I'll look at them sooner than later. But he said, a little bit late, but wanted to share this with you. The Gray's Banshee. Okay, let me put it on the screen for you guys first. Here we go. Before I read the description. Here we are. Here. He said, it was a group build kit bash for my mecha club that was themed on the RPG Holy Trinity. I'm completely unfamiliar with the game, so I'll just put that out there right now. I made a DPS unit mix of Grays, Woundwort parts, and Hazel guns. All right. So let's look at this. This would be kind of similar. You did what was it? Your previous build was something kind of similar along the lines. Okay, there you go, Mike. You're still here. Okay, good. What was your previous build? Now I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember, but the previous build you also did something similar with the blade from the Hazel rifle, right? It's not the same one. It was definitely different. It was like a more like kind of teal color, wasn't it? But anyway, I remember I really liked it. I just can't remember it in detail now. It's been a crazy couple months. Yeah, you're a Grays fan. Well, I can understand that. It's a great design. But yeah, no, I really like this. It's very cool. Nice mix of colors. You got the white, off-white, gray colors, and then with that nice red accent. With a kind of more darker, it's not, I don't think it looks like quite as dark as like a whole red or something like that. But it's more like kind of like character red. But it's not like super bright either. Little fin details added on there. I imagine it's just little bits of plot plate. Those look nice. Got the side 6, which is their mecha group, I think was what he was referencing there. So those logos look good. Oh, a little bit of scribing there on the head for that stripe. I like that. It's nice to see like a suit where like at a sorry, at a distance, you know, the main color looks white, but having the white accents actually sorry, having the white accents just kind of makes you realize that the main color is not actually white, and the main color is actually just light gray, and then you can still accent that further with like an actual white. So that looks really cool. And then you got some more of those little fins going on here. Those are a nice addition. And then here on the ankles as well. Those are cool. And I think I may have told you last time, Mike, that like that build was maybe, I think I may have mentioned that like that was my favorite of yours that I've seen. And this one's very similar. I mean, it's kind of similar style to the last one, and yeah, again, I really like it. So I think you found like a good niche for yourself. Just making just different custom graze kits. But yeah, very nice. And the weapon designs are really nice as well too. Those are really cool. And yeah, I remember thinking the same thing about the last build as well. It's a combination of using the parts from the woundwort side of the legs on like the side of the gun here, and then using the blade from the blade rifle. Very cool. But yeah, I like it. Very nice. Nice decal work. Those look like there's some mecha decals in there. Very good. That back skirt would be from the it's like Julia's Regin Lays, I think, right? The one with like the massive long legs and everything. No, I really like it. Very nice kit bashing. And, it doesn't look like it's just a bunch of random stuff kit bashed together. It's mostly the Julia's Regin Lays, I want to say. Is that right? And then, there's the knees customized. But, I mean, it all blends together pretty well. So, yeah, I think it's quite successful indeed. And nice photos. Very cool. And then we have his entry into the architect contest. So he also has this female character figure, which was not included in the architect contest just because that wasn't a part of the contest, but he's got that here too. I definitely recognize this. I think it's a model Kaskin figure with a part added onto her back, kind of little backpack kind of part there. But I'm not seeing any photos of that finish. Well, here's this one. There you go. Another photo of that we didn't see before. But there you go. But yeah, so this was his entry into the contest, the architect contest. Why am I saying architect? Artifact contest. There you go. The artifact contest we had recently. This was one of the ones. It was like one of the finalists that we were considering for the contest. It was a really nice kit bash of the Biolarns, and it's got the arms from like the XS and the legs from the Rick DS. So you kind of mix and matched a bunch of parts. It's got the clay bazooka from the Rick DS as well. So very cool kit bash or everything. The painting was not like as smooth as on some of the other builds. I'm just like kind of going back to the contest. I'm not gonna like relitigate that as to why this one didn't win compared to other builds, but just to say that the painting was not quite as smooth. And so you can see like just some of the like the white paint up there in little bits, but it was a really cool build. I do really like this one a lot. It's kind of interesting, the stretched proportions of it, just by the kit bashing that he did. It's like a much taller design now, obviously compared to like the Rick DS, which is kind of like stocky, right? So using that Biolarn's torso in there with that very tiny little waist, it's and like the big massive shoulders and big massive legs down there. It's got some cool proportions going on there. So again, I think a very nice eye for kit bashing you have, I think, Mike. Is good. Haven't finished the lady yet. I ran out of time and was stuck on the design. Yeah, I understand. That's okay. If you finish it later, you can share and we can all have a look. But no, yeah, I really like this. And again, the color choices are nice. Like the dark green for the main color, but then the white accents are cool on there, and then like the orange for the hands, even just with it being like just a random color thrown in like that. Normally I would, it's kind of not easy to do that and without having it look like very random and out of place, but I think it's done well. Just there on the back of the hand, it's a nice little extra color thrown in, which I appreciate. So yeah, it's cool. Thank you, Mike. As always, some very cool work for us to check out there. And then I do have one more. There's some photos here from Philip. And sorry, Philip, he mentioned earlier in the chat to call him something else. But I missed it. Let me just grab the photos from the email here real quick to share with you guys. Oh, here we go. So I had him resend the photos. So that's why when I was gathering all the photos, getting ready before we started, I noticed that there was some photo sharing issues, so apologize for the delay while I'm just getting these photos here from the email. There, we should be good. Okay, get this on the screen. So he also did a Kondo styling build of the Nightingale, which is very interesting. So, all right, here you go. Now, this one, was it the HG or the RE? I don't remember offhand, but I think this was on the HG. Let's see if there's a giveaway in any of the, I should be able to tell by the pictures. Torah, that's right, sorry. Forgive me. All right, right. Now I remember, sorry. Okay, so yeah, he said, all right, let me just read his description here. So, sending you my first time trying Zimmerit on a Gunpla. If you guys are unfamiliar with what Zimmerit is, it's this effect here. You guys have probably seen it's like on tank models and stuff. It's like a thing. I believe it was the Germans came up with that. Anyway, on like tanks, like in like real history. But sometimes you see people doing it on like Gunpla and other different mecha models and stuff. So if you guys are unfamiliar, that's what that is. Maybe it's a tad too big to try on. I don't know. I think it looks good, but I wanted to make it work real bad. I love the results myself, but I wonder if you think of it, what you think of it, and what pointers you could give for myself. Honestly, I like it as well. I mean, I'm the kind of person that doesn't really get too hung up on like how realistic it looks or whatever. I just think, you know, if it looks good, it looks good. So, I mean, the Zimmerit on here, and I think the fact that it's kind of, you know, it kind of trails off unevenly because it's just applied very unevenly, that actually just kind of adds to the design. If it was just kind of even over the entire part, then I would think it would look like not quite as interesting. But because it's uneven, I think it is what kind of helps to make it look cool. You can see how it just kind of doesn't follow any like real line. Here we can see on this side as well. And then this part on here, that I'm wondering, is that supposed to be like paint streaking or something? You can see like the lines on here, and I can see like how that was like the actual paint was brushed, but I don't know if that's supposed to look like kind of paint streaks on there. Like these would normally be like out and deployed, and that's why like the paint streaks falling in them, but then they're just like at the moment they're turned back because normally, I mean, because otherwise, if this is how the Nightingale usually is operating, then the paint streaks would be going kind of like down the side. Anyway, but no, I think, and then like the painted MSN 042 on there is a cool, I mean, it just adds to the effect, of course. Like if you tried doing that on just like a like normally painted red Nightingale, it would just look kind of goofy. But of course, like painted and like modeled in this style with the texture added and the Zimmerit added on top of there, and just kind of the weathering being as it is. I think you could have even gone a little bit even heavier with some of the weathering, just like kind of darkening up, like especially in these like metallic bits in here, just with even more just like kind of oil and just kind of muck and stuff. Because like you got areas like on the outside that will be like naturally cleaned off just from rain and wind and whatever like that. But in like on the inside of areas where kind of more dirt would kind of, they would just kind of be naturally more dirty. From, and also just be in the shadow, but you know, dirty from smoke and dirt and oil and all that, kind of like what you got going on here in this vent. So it's that being like kind of charred dark like that from the vent. You could even like do areas around in there. I understand like this metallic silver kind of section here in the back is kind of hidden. It's not really like very obvious seen. Like even looking at these other photos, like you're not really going to even see that part of the build that much. Oh, here it is with the wing binders deployed. But anyway, yeah, I think you could have even gone a little bit more heavy on the weathering, especially around these mechanical sections. It looks kind of very clean in comparison to the rest of the build. It doesn't like quite fit the overall style, I think. But as far as like just kind of the main goal, looks better with the binders pulled out. Yeah, definitely the streaking on the binders looks better once those are opened up. Oh, and there we can see of course, with a build like this, you got to have the lady marking, like painted marking on there. But yeah, I think if your goal was just kind of like to try something Kondo style and, try some Zimmerit on a Gundam model, I think it is, for what you wanted to do with it, I think it's successful. The camo spray pattern looks nice as well, just the painting in general. Let's see, and obviously the modified head with it just being a Gerbera Tetra head on there. If you guys haven't noticed by now, that obviously it's not the original head. That's a HG Gerbera Tetra head on there in place of that. It's also an interesting switch up there, and the kill markings on the side there. And I think it says Sweet Dreams on the side of the part that comes down for the cannon and the chest. So nice little details added in with like the markings and things like that. The painted on Xeon logo there on the front. So yeah, I think you could just go just even heavier, or kind of more so, even with just the weathering on this, and that would kind of be like the main thing. Otherwise, I think like the texture, the base paint, and everything like that, the customization is all good. I just think you could go even dirtier. But I don't know if you have if it's kind of basically done, or if you're planning on doing anything more on it, maybe building it into some sort of diorama, or just a vignette or base or something like that, or just planning on just having it like that. But if you were to set it into just a vignette or something, it would be an opportunity to kind of add some more dirt and add some more onto it. Because if you're going to have it in like some mud or something or whatever, right, you could bring some of that up from the mud onto the kit. I think could be an opportunity to do that. But very cool. And I'm glad you were available to resend those photos so we could take a look at that today. I think I'd already seen maybe your work in progress photos on Discord of that, but I don't think I had seen it at least completed to this stage yet. So it's cool to see. I think the style, applying Kondo style painting and kind of effects and stuff onto a big kit like that was a nice choice. Yeah. All right. So anyway, that wraps it up for today, guys. Thank you so much again to all my Patreon supporters, everyone, those of you guys who submitted works, those of you guys who did not this time. If you want to next time, again, just check out my Patreon. The link is down below if you guys want to check that out to submit works for future episodes. Tomorrow, Adam and I will be live on the USA Gundam TV YouTube channel. Check that out. We'll be giving away a Zoids kit, the Liger Zero Empire version, Marking Plus version, a new Kotobukiya kit, a big HMM Kotobukiya Zoids kit. So make sure you guys enter to win that, because it's a very cool kit. So check that out. We'll see you guys live tomorrow morning, and got some more. A few more of the Kyokai Senki HG kit reviews coming out over the next few days, and then next week a bunch of stuff that I'll be working on, and some more live streaming and stuff like that. So kind of getting back into the groove of stuff a little bit now. We're kind of normalizing the schedule out a little bit, so that's all good. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, watching today. Hope you have a great rest of the evening or morning, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.